We're back. Public Works Committee meeting. Let's get to it.
Good evening and welcome to our March Public Works Committee meeting. We will begin with introductions with my counselor on the left.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Derek Cahill, District 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Dilk, District 24.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh Bain, District 21.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Ron Gibson, District 8.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Roberts, District 4, Geisen Castleton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andy Nielsen, District 14.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Boots, District 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica McCormick, District 16, West Side, and happy Pi Day all.
Good evening, Chairwoman Jones. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side.
Thank you. And first up is, my name is Kristen Jones for District 18. First up is Proposal 51, which reappoints Jill Hoffman to the Marion County Stormwater Management Technical Advisory Committee. Jill is here with us tonight if you'd like to step forward. You all have her resume and her attendance in your packet. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Jill.
My pleasure. Hello, everybody.
Behind you.
Do I just say?
Good evening. Yes, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure. Hi, Jill Hoffman. I serve as the Executive Director for the White River Alliance. I also have a small consulting firm called Empower Results, and we do a lot of public engagement work in the city and around the state. I've been working on water issues for more than 20 years around here. I'm really passionate about stormwater and its importance to our city, quality of life reasons, economic development reasons. Anyway, happy to be here, happy to serve if you have me again. And any questions I can entertain, I would do so.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from counselors? Councilor Boots?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I've had the pleasure of working with Ms. Hoffman personally, and I think we're very fortunate to have her working for the city, and I wholeheartedly endorse her.
Thank you so much, Councilor Boots. Any other questions, comments from counselors? Now,
Who's missing?
I'll open up to comments or questions from the public. All right.
I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chairwoman, that we move Proposal 51, 2024 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 51 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Jill, for your service, and we look forward to having you with us at the full council. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for your service as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that we take proposals 70 through 76 together if we could, please.
Consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Moving on. Sorry. Consent.
What is
All those in
going
favor
on
say
right
aye.
now?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Nathan is here to present.
Good evening, Nathan Sheets, Department of Public Works, and I've got 7 proposals before you this evening. They're all very similar in nature. These are basically speed limit reductions in neighborhoods, and we'll begin with proposal number 70, 2024. This authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Sagebrook subdivision, that is District 25. Proposal number 71, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Chessington Grove subdivision, that is District 20. Proposal number 72, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Williston Green subdivision, that is District 1. Proposal number 73, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction
I'm
to 25 miles per hour.
distracted by these two right now.
In the
I don't
Fox
care what
Hill
Sheets has to
Estates
say.
subdivision, that's District 2. Proposal number 74, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Sherman Commons subdivision, District 24. Proposal number 75, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in Allison Commons and Allison Heights subdivisions, that's District 3. And proposal number 76, 2024 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Woodland Place subdivision, and that's District 5. And if you have questions about any of the 7 proposals before you this evening, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Any comments or questions from counselors? Counselor?
Yeah, just not specific to any of these, but just as a new counselor, what initiates these? What's the process?
Sure. A lot of these requests that we get for the 25-mile-an-hour reductions are either come from constituents through their counselors. We may get requests through the Mayor's Action Center. There are, for instance, this specific one, Sagebrook subdivision. This was a subdivision that was recently constructed, fairly new subdivision, was accepted by the Board of Public Works. And in order to establish the signs that were installed by the developer, we have to go through the ordinance process in order to establish that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. So there is a state statute that indicates that speed limits in residential areas are 30 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. Many of these locations that you see before you this evening have had signs that have been installed for years. We, through requests that we receive, will go out and do an investigation. So this is, many times we're just codifying that speed limit so that we don't have to go out and remove the 25-mile-an-hour signs that had been previously installed and install that state statute 30-mile-an-hour sign.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from
Nobody
counselors?
follows the speed limit anyway. Who gives a damn?
Any comments or questions from the public? All right. Counselor Boots, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I propose proposals 70 through 76, pass on to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Thank you so much. It has been moved and seconded to send proposals 70 to 76 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you so much. Next, we will have our first quarter update from Director Herget. Thank you so much.
Oh boy, this should be long.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, counselors, for your time this evening.
This guy's
I will
the
try
worst.
not to be too lengthy, but we've been hard at work. It's been a very busy start to the year, I think, as all of you know, between fighting snow, beginning tackling potholes, and construction kickoff literally just earlier today. We've been hard at work, and so I'm pleased to have the team behind me here and have the opportunity to lead them as we go about doing the important work of the city. First, I'd like to just call out some senior staff transitions that you see here. I think all of these are known to you already, but for the viewing public, and just as part of our general process of updating in our quarterly updates, you all know Zach well. I think he's hit the ground running based on the feedback I've gotten from many of you, so thank you for that feedback, and thank you, Zach, for coming alongside us on the team. Natalie joined us in a new role as a Deputy Director of Policy and Planning. Margaret Wilson, who I think I called out but was not at the last meeting, is here with us this evening, and Brian Kavanaugh has joined us as General Counsel. I'd also mention that Amy Thomas, who is our Finance Manager, she has a new addition that just came today. So Charlotte Rose joined Team DPW unofficially 1 day earlier, from what I understand. So congratulations to Amy. Yes, sir.
Briefly, can we have everyone stand to make sure we just know who?
Oh, no one gives a damn. Who cares? Oh my God, knock it off.
I know we've done this in the past per Councilor Oliver, but maybe everyone, if you just want to take a moment and come to the microphone and introduce yourself. Yeah.
This is the worst.
Nathan, we'll start with you and go row by row.
Yep. Nathan Sheets, Deputy Director of our Engineering Division for DPW.
Natalie Van Dongen, Deputy Director of Policy and Planning for DPW.
And none of you know me. Zach Adamson, the DPW Council Liaison.
Corey Owenkamp, Public Information Officer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kyle Bloyd, Chief Communications Officer at DPW.
Hi, Margaret Wilson, Assistant Chief Financial Officer with DPW.
Brian Kavanaugh, General Counsel, or the new Bob Fry, as it's
For a while now. Morgan Mickelson, Office of Sustainability. Shannon Killian, Stormwater Administrator for Engineering.
John Bowen, Chief Engineer, DPW Engineering.
Terry George, Administrator, Traffic Operations.
Ron Roten, Administrator, Fleet Services.
Nathan Self, Administrator of Environmental.
Lacey Johnson, Stormwater Administrator.
Steve Pruitt, Administrator of Special Events Operations and DPW Maintenance.
Sam Barrett, Senior Program Manager, DPW Finance.
John Hobby, Administrator, IFS Belmont.
Huh?
Albany Hart, Public Information Officer for DPW.
Jason Watt, Administrator of Construction for DPW Engineering.
Jason Watt.
Councilor Boots, thank you for the friendly reminder. And again, it's a privilege to be able to lead such a tremendous team. We're lucky to have the folks behind me, and look forward to the continuing challenges we have over the course of the year. I'll get back into the presentation. As you know, we try to, Councilor, provide an update quarterly on gas tax revenue as collected versus projected. And you can see here the trend line over the course of the year. As I think many of you know, these numbers fluctuate over time. So
wait a minute.
we're certainly
Wait a minute.
we are slightly below what we had budgeted for and what we had anticipated. So we'll continue to monitor that. But at this point, there's no real cause for concern
yet.
An update on staffing levels. As you can see here, we do have vacancies, but we continue to operate at levels that we're excited about and happy about. I think there's two specific things that I'd call. Number one, fleet services continues to be a challenge for us. And number two, speaking with Lacey earlier, the forestry division, we could really use support in trying to steer people in that area. It's a very challenging position. And just to call this out, here this evening we're anticipating severe storms, potentially severe weather, and the forestry division is who they go on standby, they go on call whenever we see a storm like that coming. So we'll have 3 crews between channel maintenance and forestry on call all night, overnight, ready to respond, even if it's at 1 o'clock in the morning if there's a downed tree. You know, that they're going to go out there and make sure that ambulances and school buses come tomorrow morning are able to get where they need to go.
They're getting paid like time and a half.
Incredibly proud of that work. Also, the team, and I've got some examples here, and I'd ask any of you that want to grab a handful of these before you leave today. The team has put together business cards that you can take with you. We're going to start taking them with us to events. We have, I think I'll touch on this on the next slide. We've attended 2 career fairs already this year, and we get a lot of good conversations going. And so what we want to do is make sure that as we have that conversation, as I'm engaging with Jared, and Jared sounds interested, that we have that soft handoff and that ability to connect quickly. We think these QR codes and these business cards might help make sure that we get that person actually to apply and get that foot in the door in the process.
Oh my God,
people
are lazy.
These printed for you. I think our intent is to get some to Kim in the council office to make sure that you all have those easily accessible in the future. As I mentioned, Councilor, yeah.
On this chart on here, there's D1 to D5. I assume those aren't council districts. Are those the geographic boundaries that you guys have?
Not necessarily geographic, but there are just different district garages that have different responsibilities and different divisions that deploy out of those.
Okay. Gotcha. Good to know.
Yep. Good question. Thank you. So, continuing with the theme of finance and human services, as I mentioned, our team has attended 2 job fairs already this year, and we're going to continue to get out there and try to pound the pavement and drive interest. I'd also mention here, we talk about this during budget, but our CDL training program, the referral bonus program, and our continued partnership with our union brothers and sisters.
You remember the CDL program is taxpayer-funded program to help people get their CDL. And there's no consequence if, say, they get their CDL and then they go and take off for another job.
Continues to be, I think, why we see a high degree of success in solving the vacancy issues that we have. Additionally, in the Finance and Human Resources Division, We are going to take the initiative this year. I've been in discussion with Ben Tapper, and we are going to take the initiative this year and sort of lead by example as a department and do a DEI training
Oh my
through the Peace
God.
Learning Center. In May, we have it scheduled. And so I think that's an important building block for the city, specifically for our department.
Oh,
It's something
man.
that builds off of what we worked on together
Why?
in the council over the last term through the budgeting for equity process. And I think
Oh
setting
my
that
God.
expectation and starting those
And
baseline level
bias training
conversations.
for senior, potential for future trainings, partnered our annual. You know what? You know what it is. They can't find a reason for the DEI department to actually exist, and so they're having to like make these these extra steps. It's like, you know what, senior staff, you need DEI training for whatever reason, and it's brought to you by the OMWBD, government funded, taxpayer funded. Ugh.
Will help improve the
Instead
services
of
and
having our
the
roads
contracting
fixed,
and the
because we
processes
don't
that
apparently we
have
don't have enough
control
money
over
for
within
that,
our sphere
we're
of
going to spend our
influence.
money on this.
So I want to set that expectation with you all, hold us accountable to that.
Shut
I
up.
look forward to either during the Q2 update or during the budgeting
You're the
process be able
worst.
to talk more about that and potentially next steps as well. And again, here, you know this already, but we partner with OMWBD. We're very proud of the goals that OMWBD sets and our ability to hit those goals, and want to continue working with them on outreach events. And you see here a note, and I forgot to say this at the offset, I set the expectation, I've talked to a few counselors individually about this, I set the expectation with the team back in January at our first senior staff meeting that across the board, not just in design, not just at operations, but across the board, we should see safety as a focus this year. And so you can see here some examples of what in the human resources and finance departments we've been doing to that end. Finally, and I'm going to give Sam, who introduced himself earlier, credit here. You can see to that end, thinking creatively with the contracts and the sphere of influence that we do have, we're able to work with Park Indy, our contracted vendor for parking services in the city. As you know, last year we were able to deploy a new process in the app where if you were parking next to a bike lane, a warning popped up so that there was situational awareness, and we're now able to do the same thing with an ADA parking space.
I got it today.
Did you? Good.
And I loved it. I was so happy.
The system works. Well, thank you, Sam.
It does. Great
for,
job.
for prioritizing that.
Oh my God, who cares?
We'll move on to the policy and planning division.
Not about that,
we're really
but
excited about
Carlino.
this year, community-powered infrastructure. You all know the INEP program and how it's historically been branded. We did close out the INEP grant application process earlier this year. We received 8 applications that we're in the process of reviewing. As you all know, sometime in the spring, Councilor Evans, I know we were out at Stoutfield Elementary last year when we kicked off that program for the summer. We hope to be able to have an announcement about what projects were selected soon. And then the expectation we've set with you all in the community is that we will have a similar grant opportunity for tactical urbanism and the right-of-way projects over the course of the summer. And so Daniel Stevenson, who's on his way, I think, in a car to New Orleans for a wedding right now, couldn't be here this evening, but Daniel and several members of the team have been working hard with our contracted technical service provider, Health by Design, on building out what a community engagement strategy looks like for that, and also coming up with the parameters for what we're calling our pilot phase for CPI, because this will be the first year that we're launching the program. You can also see here under the policy and planning umbrella, thank you for the partnership, Councilor Nielsen, Chairwoman Jones, others, Councilor Barth, of course, on the fatal crash review team update.
So dumb.
Jill Palmer, Nathan was sharing with me earlier today. Jill and our traffic team and engineering should have a draft here in the next week or two that we can start going over and refining as we seek to hit that July 1st goal to update you all on what that fatal crash review team expansion will look like. And then finally, you can see here we're continuing to implement new technologies across the board, and specifically mobile N4 is what I'd point to here. Our operations folks, thinking back to the forestry example that I gave earlier, the way the system works right now is if they get called out, a field investigator gets called out to report in the community from one of your constituents or perhaps yourselves, they're relaying that by phone back to dispatch to then input data. By utilizing new tools in the field, it's going to improve constituent services, we believe, and improve communication within the department, and then intra-department and inter-department as well.
I did a video on this whole fatal crash review team. It's totally bogus. It's a giant scam. If you want to go back and watch it, go for it. I debunk everything.
And the DOT software, forgive me for skipping over that, because that was a big line item in the budget last year. You all approved, I believe it was either $400,000 or $500,000 additional appropriation in the budget last year for DOT software. This is the new data-driven software that will help us with managing our capital asset program and making data-informed decisions on where to invest in our capital assets over time. And of note for Councilor Boots and Councilor Hart, there's an AI component to that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Quick question, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, INIP is being retitled, intents and purposes, onto CPI, correct?
Correct.
That program will now be Community Powered Infrastructure.
Yes, sir. And there'll be 2 grant cycles open.
Instead of the one.
That's correct. That's how we're running it this year. And like I said, it's sort of a pilot phase since we're expanding it for the first time. So that INIP, the traditional, if you will, INIP grant application opened in December. I believe it closed towards the end of January, beginning of February. As I said, we received 8 applications and are working the process on that now. And then the Tactical Urbanism Art and the Right-of-Way grant opportunity will open sometime Q2.
Will the budget be expanded as well, or is it the same budget being split across 2 cycles?
So the budget it's an annual number. $2 million was what was appropriated last year. You all appropriated last year in the budget, and so I think that's part of why we're calling it a pilot, right? I know there's a lot of interest. I know I talked to a lot of you about these type of projects, but we need to see what kind of incoming we have and then how we might budget for that in the future.
Oh, it's almost like if we stop spending money on dumb stuff like DEI training.
I know we've talked a lot about the Tactical Urbanism Project in my district with the Community Heights Neighborhood Organization. And something that, as we head into 2025 budgeting, that I would challenge you and your team to think about is that for these programs are great, but they require a pretty heavy match. And I'm thinking about our neighborhoods on the Far East Side who maybe don't have the resources to match these programs, how we can layer in some equity or other rankings or scoring systems that recognizes the challenges that some of these communities have. So just as something that I will be talking with you all later, would love to see that as part of a future programming component and how we can engage neighborhoods that, again, don't have the resources or maybe the technical savvy volunteers who are able to leverage other funding sources to get those matches. So just something that's, as we're thinking about budgeting with equity, how we can move that further.
This guy's an absolute dope. Oh, we need to make sure that we have equity for the shithole Far East Side because, they're just not getting enough love. And we need to get, neighborhood participation. There's a reason why the Far East Side is a shithole. It's because the neighbors want it as a shithole. And how do I know this? Whoever goes out there and cleans it up? Are the neighborhoods keeping everything clean? No. Is participation up? No. And who do they keep voting in and year out? Oh, that's right. The party that doesn't give a damn about them. Kind of weird, right? Why don't we focus on the neighborhoods that actually want things better? Just saying.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I mentioned the partnership that we have existing with Health by Design, and so we're being very intentional about outreach and being proactive in identifying communities across the entire county where we should be proactive in our outreach to try to build out at least interest and technical assistance in an equitable way. The budgeting piece is one that I'm very interested in as well, and I want to be thoughtful about our approach there, obviously for very obvious reasons, but I think there's a way that we could achieve that goal, and I think it's a shared goal. Any further questions before I move to sustainability? Hearing none, and Morgan, Director Mickelson is here. If folks have specific questions, I defer to her on this slide. But we were asked to support and participate in a process led by Mayor Fadness and CERTA, so not CERTA, the Regional Transit Authority, but CERTA, the Regional Development Authority, that you all as a body agreed for the city to enter into. Was that last year? That might have been 2 years ago now. And so CERTA is taking the lead in an application for the Priority Climate Action Plan. It's a federal EPA opportunity. I want to say there's $500 million available in that pot of money. And so through the CERTA application process, Morgan was the point person for DPW, and we identified projects in Marion County that are eligible for that pot of money. And so we've been coordinating at a very high level with the entire region, and I think that's maybe the most important thing to call out here, is that there's a regional interest at stake, and an opportunity is, I think, the way we're looking at it, to engage with the donut counties, engage in a new way and at a different level on an opportunity such as this.
What he's saying is, hey, if we work on this grant all together, maybe we could all get it, and then we could all kind of help each other to get that money, because right now we need to spend a lot of money on DEI training. Listen, our number one focus, he said it, my number one priority, we want to make sure that we're ahead of everybody on DEI training. But don't worry about the roads.
Also, the Thriving Buildings program is one that the council stood up. I think many of you are aware of. The sustainability team continues to implement that program, and it has begun what they're calling data jams, or opportunities for engagement and for learning opportunities for the public, and held their first data jam, I believe, just yesterday.
Data jam.
I'll move into operations, and thank you, a sincere thank you to the men behind me who lead our operations division. Tim Joyce, who is not with us because of some health issues, but we anticipate rejoining us very shortly, we hope. They have been hard at work this year.
Yeah, how much do you think these signs cost, huh? Just gonna say $1,000 each, probably.
This year,
I would love that
talking,
data broken
with
down.
Steve Pruitt before we got started, and I'm jumping ahead a slide or two, but between All-Star Game through August, there's no time off. So I think it's safe to say that downtown is back.
It's
Our
not.
convention business is healthy. Things are moving in the right direction. And what that means is that the hard-working men and women of DPW have a big challenge in front of them. And so we appreciate all of your support. We appreciate all of your patience with us. We've talked individually, several of us one-on-one, about needing to make sure that we know what priority events are going on in your district, so that we can make sure that we program those out and have the ability to respond, because we have a great deal of responsibility across the entire county, and specifically with all the events. We're a host city, we're proud of that, but it requires a lot of manpower and a lot of resources to pull that off. You can see here the work that we've done, again, just to date. And I won't belabor it and read all of this to you, but a huge shout out here also, when you think about 503 tons of debris, a significant amount of that litter abatement and illegal dumping cleanup is done by our partners at Keys to Work. And so I want to shout them out as well, because that is an incredibly important program for us, and we're appreciative of the partnership with them. You can see here, next slide, the totals to date for potholes. I'm very proud, in a weird way, kind of a geek about it, how quickly we were able to get access to hot mix asphalt. A huge shout out to Jason on our team, and Jamie Cole and the folks that worked the relationships that they had with the contractors to get those plants open. Thanks to counselors for responding maybe to some quick texts during council meetings about strip patching priorities, so we could sort of get the prime pumped and get them moving. But we are on record pace for potholes. Councilor Nielsen is featured here, but I know several of you have been able to get out. And,
you can tell he's
join
never
our
worked a
crews.
blue-collar
Councilor
job
Cahill,
in
I
his
believe,
life.
you were
I'm just
out
gonna
there
grab
as well as
some
others. So
some
if
gym
you haven't had
shoes.
that opportunity yet, I encourage you to do so. I think some of the most fun and fulfilling work that I did last year was getting out and working alongside the crews, and it's humbling. These are challenging jobs, and
It's humbling. Oh my God. These people are so soft. I mean, it's humbling. Putting in hot mix, it's really something to be part of the guys and really get in there and tie up my bootstraps and do some real honest hard labor. Oh my God, this is what happens when you're behind a desk all day and you just look at the computer and you're looking outside that window and it's kind of like from Office Space, right? It's like, boy, you know what? I just want to be out there. I just want to be out in the weather. Do you? Do you want to be out there in negative 10-degree weather or 100-degree weather, rainy? Huh? No. Listen, at the end of the day, you want to take your 100+ grand salary from the government, from the taxpayers, and you want to be behind that computer. So don't even act like you know what it's like to be a blue collar guy. Jerk off.
we mean when we say that these are hardworking men and women. Thinking about operations and snow fights, I'm probably at this point belaboring all of this, and you all can read for yourselves, but for the viewing public at home, you may not have felt like it was a snowy winter, you may not have felt like it was a challenging winter, but for our crews, if it gets below freezing, they've got to get out there and salt the bridges. They've got to get out there and be prepared to respond if the temperature drops or snow starts to accumulate. And so you can see here the man hours and the amount of salt that we did drop this year, which obviously has impacts on budget. Furthermore, Nate introduced himself earlier. We continue to do the Tox Drop program. Of note, I learned this earlier as we were preparing for this evening's presentation, that interestingly on our DPW website, you know what the #1 located search and clicked on link on the DPW website is? It's our Tox Drop link. So there's obvious need, there's obvious interest, and so it's a service that we don't talk a lot about, but I think it's one that's very important. And from a safety perspective, back to thinking about safety as a priority for this year, that's diverting toxic materials away from landfills, away from places where they shouldn't be. And so I think that's an important service. And as we think about solid waste collection, as we think about these big, heavy items that we're going to need to deal with over the course of the next year or two, we need to continue to think about that as well.
Listen, they're just like, is there a spot that's close to me? If there's not, I'm just throwing it in the regular garbage.
And also, I know that this has come up with a handful of you, and I'm sure we'll start to come up with more and more of you, but when we start thinking about brush cutbacks, again, a call out to Keys to Work, again, a call out to our union friends who prioritize doing litter abatement with brush cutbacks, so that when we get out there and we trim back to improve line of sight and safety on the roadways, that we're able to get out and clean at the same time. I mentioned this earlier, but thinking about all the work that our operations staff does for special events, tomorrow is another example, right? There was the greening of the canal today. Tomorrow we have the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're happy to respond. We are excited about those opportunities to show off and put our best foot forward as a community, and I think there's no better example than the All-Star Game. I mean, across the board, I think we got great positive feedback, and to be clear, that's not just DPW operations, that's public safety, that's the Pacers organization, that's the CIB, and that's the state of Indiana supporting all of those efforts. But we're incredibly proud of the work that our team did. Thinking about grounds maintenance, again, I'll try not to belabor these points, but you can see here the hours logged and the amount of work and attention to detail that our teams put forward in this work.
Materials.
Solid waste, I sort of teased this just a moment ago, but I think as all of you know well, we are at a point where our existing contracts for solid waste services are expiring at the end of next year. So we put out at the beginning of this year an RFP for those solid waste processing services. Many of you will recall the solid waste minimization study that the department did in 2022. And there's a timeline and a process that we've been transparent about and talked about publicly related to these services. We are on track with that timeline, This RFP should be closed out by June, with hopefully contracts negotiated by then. And the second RFP in the series, the one for then hauling services, would at that time be released. And we would then fulfill the necessary commitments on that second RFP. You can see here what the team produced as far as prioritizing safety in the solid waste division, and we're trying to do a job by job and a route by route analysis for safety concerns. I'd also call out here, you all funded in the budget for the first time last year a pilot program for physical rehabilitation services for our solid waste drivers. That contract is being put into place through OFM as we speak, and we're eager to get that off the ground and running. We know that we lose a lot of man hours to time off because of workplace injuries, and we'd like to get those folks back up and running, not just for themselves to improve their own health, but also to get them back working and providing the services that our constituents are obviously interested in us providing. Finally, fleet services. Before I think we'll move into the engineering portion, the capital portion. As discussed before, if we do have one pain point for vacancies, it is fleet. So you can see here again the QR code. A reminder, please pick up some of these cards. If you know folks in the mechanic industry that are interested in good paying job with great benefits, flexible hours, we would appreciate your referrals. And you can see here some of the safety components that fleet services have been trying to prioritize.
Listen, I bet they're paid like $22 an hour, and for some of you out there that don't understand in the blue collar world, that is very, very low pay. Do the benefits match up to it? Well, guess what? I still have bills to pay at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what the benefits are. Tell you what, how about you give me a bump in pay and you just lower the benefits a little bit? That's replace the light cords in facilities for drop lights. Ooh, dispose of obsolete. So basically, they cleaned up the shop and they replaced the light cords, and they wonder why they can't get anybody to can't hire anybody.
As we transition into the engineering portion of the presentation, just this week was something called Purdue Road School. Many of you may have heard about it in the past. I was very honored, along with John Bowen, to be able to present actually yesterday at Road School. We had several members of our team present: Jill Palmer, Jamie McPherson. I shouldn't have started naming names because I'm not going to be able to think.
Remember how I said $100,000+ salary? I was right. 125 last year.
Thank you, everyone. Shannon Killian, I know as well. Several members of our team were able to participate, not just as attendees, but actually as presenters and moderators, which I think speaks volume to the work that our team does and the level of respect that our team has across the state with NDOT and with Purdue. So a lot of very complimentary things said as we were talking with other communities. I saw Commissioner Smith on Tuesday. That's actually why I'm wearing this orange wristband. NDOT is talking about safety in the same way that Marion County is talking about safety and trying to prioritize safety. And so when I hear things like that and I get feedback like that, I want to take that back to you all so that you all hear it as well, because I think it's important because we have a lot of alignment in our goals and shared goals.
Are you enforcing it? I just want to know, is anybody enforcing traffic safety? Because if you're not, then who gives a damn? Oh, we want to make sure we prioritize it. Okay, by doing what? Wearing a wristband? Hey, way to go there, pal.
Infrastructure funding being another one.
Activists are so dumb.
Also on the engineering front, if you think about our capital plan and what we've talked a lot about over the past few years together, thinking creatively, how do we grow the pie? How do we grow the size of our budget? This is just a teaser because it's not final.
How about we don't waste the budget on DEI training, dummy?
Finalized yet, but we were awarded a demonstration grant through the Safe Streets for All project that we're in the final phases of identifying scope with the federal administrator on. So more to come on this project, but it will again be a safety-focused project. In this instance, it will include a tackle urbanism demonstration project on the east side. So construction season kickoff, as I mentioned earlier, today was our kickoff event for our construction season. You can see here a couple examples of projects that we're excited about. We're excited about projects across everyone's district.
People
not
are
just
not
these two,
happy
but,
about this one.
thought these were a couple of good projects to highlight. Here you can see what we are investing in, sort of line item by line item in this year's capital program. I would point out that ADA compliant ramps, bike lanes, curbs, sidewalks, and asphalt streets, those elements all increased year over year. So again, thinking about pedestrian facilities, thinking about safety, ADA compliant ramps, bike lanes, curbs, and sidewalks, along with asphalt streets, are all seeing more investment and more return on that investment in this year's capital plan. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle briefly so that I can take a drink of water and you can stop hearing me drone on. But I'd like to let him talk a little bit about our revamped website and communication plan for the year. Kyle.
Kyle Wood, DPW again. Myself and the entire communications team, Corey, Albany, Harrison, have been hard at work revamping our presence on indy.gov, starting with a revised DPW landing page. It is now much less cluttered. It more accurately reflects the mission of everyone you see here today. That is going to be a continued work as we look to simplify this page even further, make it easier to navigate for residents. We are very proud of the work we've done with the major transportation projects page, which you're probably all familiar with. The big thing we've done with this is we've simplified the URL. You can now simply type in indy.gov/DPW projects and get there. Much easier to remember, much easier to direct residents to. We have social media ready graphics in your inboxes right now to help drive traffic to that web page as well as our jobs page. With that revamped projects page, we now have simplified the look of that as well. Projects are no longer separated by transportation, stormwater, bridges, and connectivity. It's simply current, future, and completed. And they're all alphabetized. It's going to be much easier to get around on there. Additionally, there are a lot more projects on there now. It's about 50%-ish more projects. And so there's a lot more information on there for residents, as well as high detail construction maps, the output list, and a project list, all as downloadable PDFs.
Thank you very much. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it?
I'd also shout out Kyle and the team. I think, if I recall correctly, Zach forwarded on this information to counselors as well. But if you look agency by agency, department by department, not that it's a competition, but DPW social media pages have been growing as far as followers and engagement.
Who cares?
Also an important indicator. And
Who cares?
Again, shout out to Kyle, Corey, and Albany who are with us here.
Oh man,
and
check
the
out my
entire
followers,
DPW
bro.
communication staff. So with that, I will breeze through these last few slides because these are simply spreadsheets of information that I think everyone is aware of. We do have all of our engineering admins here who, if people have specific questions about specific projects, we're happy to get into, but this information is available on our website, presented alongside the budget, and we wanted to make sure we included it here in the quarterly update for all of you. So with that, like I said, I'll sort of quickly get through these. For anybody watching at home.
Me.
And thank you all for your partnership and for indulging a lengthy presentation.
Thank you, Director Herget. First of all, thank you. I see the districts had been added. That was something we'd asked for in the past, so thank you very much. As a quick overview, I appreciate that. And thank you, super thank you for the website update. Our constituents, I know sometimes when we were advocating in neighborhood meetings and stuff, I would get calls, where are you talking about, what's that going on, and you're doing that, so thank you very much for that. So we appreciate you and your team. This has been very valuable information. Any questions, comments? Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director. So you mentioned the DOT and like the capital or the asset management. You know, whenever you reach out to us and, you know, get our input on our priorities for strip patching, You always give us, like 3 to 5 examples as well. Like these are coming up as some of the poorer roads in your district. And in my experience, it's always been spot on. But I was just wondering, how does DPW get that data? How do you know like what the bottom 5 or 10% of roads are in the city?
Yeah. So as I think you know well, because I know we've had these conversations a couple times in the past, we, on a rolling basis, will update and refresh our PCI data. And so as we refresh that PCI data, that data is then incorporated in our current asset management plan, and then also incorporated in our existing internal software is the feedback that we get from you, MAC requests, all of those different data points. And so our engineering department does a good job of trying to take that information, distill it down, and prioritize per district, because those are the political boundaries that we deal with here in Marion County. And so that if I need to, if Zach needs to, we can reach out and ask about that prioritization. So that's sort of the process as it exists today. The reason that we chose to invest in the DOT software is we know that with technology we can be doing more, and we can potentially be building out something where we can be doing more proactively. So improving the life cycle of pavement, for example, thinking about the crack sealing program, thinking about other short-term measures like that, where maybe more strategic investments and low-dollar investments today could lead to a longer life cycle for infrastructure. So I think it's sort of a yes and, if that makes sense, where we want to continue doing what we're doing. It's not a broken process. It's just how can we incorporate more data and then let that additional data inform new processes and new ways of doing business.
Councilor Evans?
Just an algorithm. Hey, cool suspenders, bud.
Thank you,
I like 'em.
Chairwoman. Director Herget, thank you for the presentation. 2 things. Actually, one of them was about the crack ceiling. I wanted to ask you, so being a border district to the west, I don't know if it's Hendricks County or if it's particular to Avon or Plainfield, but when they're doing, I assume, crack sealing, when we've done it in the past, it seems like we literally send crews out, contracted crews, I think, and they're just taking like almost like a vacuum-like thing and filling in cracks. What I've seen them do to the west of us is they come in and they completely put a sealant over the entire street. I don't know if I have to plead some ignorance because I don't know the terminology. Is that something that we don't do because of cost? Or maybe ours is actually just more efficient? I assume their way of doing it is probably filling in even the smaller cracks. So I'm just asking to see if there's any particular, and maybe it's being done for something completely different.
Yeah.
But I assumed it was crack sealing.
Yeah, I was going to turn around and see if somebody on the team wanted to help. So,
I don't
Jason,
particularly
Jason
deal with
jumped
that
up.
stuff.
Jason,
Listen, I
do
just
you
go in and I just start typing
Yeah, a little
stuff.
bit of insight. So Jason Watt, Administrator of Construction for DPW, and my team handles a lot of the crack sealing contracted work that we do, and we're constantly looking at new products for that work better with our weather conditions. Really is the main driving factor. But the product I believe you're talking about specifically is reclamite. It's what you would commonly see painting basically the road black again. A lot of driveways get that type of product. And
Like a
while
sealer.
it does have some beneficial value, and I think the town of Avon deserves a lot of credit because they do a really good job with the road maintenance system. I've actually helped them with that in the past, but they do a fantastic job. The difference is there's not really much of a skid resistance on that with that product. So you have to be very careful where you place it. So you can't place that on high-speed roadways or anything like that, because now that friction is no longer there for the stopping power of the vehicles. So it does have applications. It's just not necessarily a great product for, or even, they use it I think a lot on residential streets, so they must be willing to accept some of that risk and reward. So it's not something we currently use.
Okay.
And I would supplement that to say thank you, Jason. That's a very good technical analysis. When we as a department are dealing with the limited resources that we have to think about sort of best value and return on investment with scarce
This guy.
resources. So I think our team was thoughtful about our approach, the materials we use, the processes we use, but with 8,400 lane miles, gas tax revenue for 3,300, a lot of times, as I've learned over the last 14 months, we're sort of forced into a corner of making specific decisions based on budgetary constraints.
Shut up. shut your mouth, okay? Yeah, I'm getting a little annoyed by this guy now because he at one point he's saying we don't have the money to do things right, but then the other thing, but we are going to waste our money on DEI training. So which one is it, huh?
That's right. So
Booger.
I think a great question and
Boogert.
leads to a bigger conversation that we're encouraged, is continuing and we're optimistic we'll be able to continue with the state.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know about that all too well. The second question was about the recycling bins program. The west side, and I don't know if this is an issue across the city, but the west side in particular seems to be lacking in that. And it seems that our approach, when we come in and we place one, sort of galvanizes the community, including those who illegally dump, and they all go to that one location, so it scares off. And I just wonder if there is the ability that, if that is how we're going to continue to do our recycling program in the city, trying to do a better job of locating 4 or 5 locations all at once, so that one location does not get overburdened, let alone with actual recycling, but the illegal dumping that's taking place. Yeah. And then I wonder, coordinating with BNS, or even the businesses with locations that maybe have camera systems or B-Link systems already in place, to
Just need more money.
start going after these people who continue to illegally dump.
Hey, question. Is anything going to happen? That's what I want to know. Where is the line where you say enough is enough? Because all I hear is this guy bitching. And he's crying that all these things are happening. All right, say we get a camera system put in. Say we find out exactly who it is. We go to his house and we say, "Sir, is this you illegal dumping?" Well, it is actually. What are you going to do then, huh? Are you going to fine him? Are you going to arrest him?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
I know.
So that's just more of a comment. You don't have to have an answer. Just a thought on that. Because I know one thing I thought of, and I know there's a good reason why we don't do it, but with our school districts, it's like, why don't we just place 5 or 6 in the school districts of the township? But unfortunately, I think there's some safety issues there that prevent that from happening. So
You want to know why? Because the people who are doing it are probably dangerous and a little bit unhinged.
And then it makes perfect sense.
I know.
Councilor McCormick? I just wanted to hop on. Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to hop on from Councilor Evans. If it's I'm just thinking about the friction. So Raceway Road, that's, like a quarter mile between lights, is not the best place for Avon, Hendricks County to
Are
be
they putting it on Raceway
They're
Road?
using it on Raceway.
They did do it on a thoroughfare, though.
Yeah, so that's what it sounds like they're doing on some thoroughfares. So maybe
Yeah,
you
which
can
one?
say, hey, not a good idea.
And how much is it?
Just
Is it like a couple of feet?
Councilor?
McCormick, you dope.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
They're all dopes.
Quick question on the street sweeping. So I was actually impressed to see as big of a number on the lane miles that have been swept, given the weather and everything. What is the goal or the vision for street sweeping? Will we get to every street sometime during the year, or more frequently? What's the cycle on that?
Yeah. So, Terry, I don't know if you want to get in any greater level.
Not really.
But again, we're in a position with street sweeping similar to crack sealing and maintenance, where with the resources, with the trained professionals that we have, it's unrealistic to say that we're going to cover all 8,400 lane miles, and so we have to prioritize. And we have different districts and different routes that we run on various schedules. And I know that in the past, Councilor Evans, I'm thinking about an example with you last year where you had a neighborhood cleanup. You had a very engaged group of constituents. You had worked with KIB to secure dumpsters for a cleanup, and we were able to coordinate and hit an area that maybe wasn't on a route traditionally, or we wouldn't be able to, because we saw the community stepping up, and we felt it was important to step up as well, if that makes sense. And so before I turn it over to Terry to speak more intelligently than me about it, I would just say we're always interested in those opportunities. And if you have high-profile events or areas where you've got constituents who are willing to work with us and help sort of force multiply and add bandwidth, we're always happy to get creative. But Terry, I don't know if you want to supplement that at all.
Yeah, Terry George, Administrator for Traffic and Street Sweeping.
Terry George.
Right now, our street sweeping primarily concentrates on CSO area, combined sewer overflow area. And we have a contract that we do X number of miles in that CSO. We are trying to get out into the counties and sweep all thoroughfares at least once a year, and trying to get out there twice a year. As we increase our equipment count, that'll enable us to do that. What our program is right now is kind of combined, or it's targeted toward the CSO. So and we sweep as much as we can. Matter of fact, we push the envelope quite often as far as temperature and some other things, just to get out there. So that's 1,700 miles.
And that CSO that he's referring to, for obvious reasons, we need to prioritize certain areas for stormwater. And I would say, and Shannon might be able to speak more intelligently to this, but our partner CEG in this effort, we've actually just last year as I stepped into this role, Shane and the team were already working on this and executed it, Lacey as well. But we have renegotiated with CEG in such a way that actually allowed us to recapture some dollars that we put towards purchasing new street sweepers. So just in the last year, we have added to the fleet, and adding to the fleet means we're able to do more. So it is a priority for us. It's something we know. I remember Councilor Roberts, the first conversation I had with you was about how do we get street sweeping up in Castleton. And, I know that there's a lot of demand out there. I know that there's a lot of need, and we're doing our best to try to continue to be creative and find ways to expand.
Thank you. I would add on to that, because I think I recall in my first term, we brought that program back after I think about a 10-year hiatus of not having street sweeping, which was mind-blowing to me that we didn't have it. I did want to ask, though, on that, it seems to me that when we brought it back, we had 10 street sweepers at that time. Maybe it was contracted out. How many do we have today?
We still have the 10. And those sweepers are on 5-year leases. So one of the leases just expired, and we're going to take the money that was targeted toward those leases. We now own those street sweepers and buy additional equipment. So that will allow us to get further out and leapfrog out into the county and tackles. We're already out in the county doing thoroughfares as much as we can, along with doing the contract.
Yeah, I thought I recalled that first year there was so much debris on the roads, we didn't even get halfway through what we wanted to do that year, because we had to come back and unload.
Right. And this time of year, we're always challenged because of the winter dirt and grime and all that. So the figure you had up there for tons of debris is what we've collected so far this year.
I'm going to put a map on the description, too, of that CSO map.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say
what do we got here?
Team enough. It was wild out here the weekend of the All-Star weekend, especially on the Friday afternoon. Even my mom called me and she's like, "You better get home, baby." And I'm like, "I'm fine. I am down in the Mile Square, and DPW is taking care of us. They are out here doing great work. And we were able to really enjoy all the festivities, but it was because the infrastructure around was able to move us from wherever we needed to move, to our car, to an Uber, and back to home safely. So thank you.
Hold on, wait. Hold on, I want to see the 27.
Thank you. Love to hear about the Purdue partnership.
Anybody?
Any way this council and this committee can continue to support those initiatives, all of the conversations happening. Definitely boiler up. I love seeing also the technology improvements. I think that's a really big deal. It does take, though, dollars, especially on the software side. So as we modernize DPW, we know that we're going to become more efficient. So kudos to you for adopting a lot of that. I know it takes a team, takes a lot of brain power. So thank you for that as well.
Oh my God.
A little plug, though, it's almost May, Madam Chairwoman.
It's not the Indy 500 yet.
And I know Councilor McCormick will sort of second this motion, but taking a look, even a little bit, and maybe even our leader, Madam Lewis, our majority chairwoman, taking a look at 38th Street corridor. That's a big inroads into Speedway for the month of May for a lot of our folks. They come in through Counselor Jared Evans' district, mine, and Jessica McCormick's. But we'll get a lot of folks coming in, and just want to make sure we get some love to 38th
Dude, it's
Street.
the middle of March.
With regard to the $2 million, and the what are we calling NIP now? I'm sorry.
CFP.
Community powered
CPI.
CPI. Thank you. Alphabet soup. I'm gonna write it down really quick. CPI. Eight applications doesn't seem like a ton to me, so I really appreciate Councilor Nielsen's comment about capacity and some of the community's ability to really, not just the dollars, but even put in an application that's viable. And so just want to, work with you moving forward on future years about community engagement. And then my final comment, Madam Chair, is really about, kudos to Corey and other members of the team in terms of communication. Great customer service at a time where you would think folks would be really cranky and the weather is changing constantly and maybe we want to patch some potholes, but oh no, we can't because of weather. It's just been amazing to communicate with this team, always with a smile, always ready to, I know pivot is annoying, Madam Chair, but they are constantly changing their plans, Director Herget, and I just cannot compliment you and your team
God,
enough
stop
for
yapping.
the work that they've been doing, and then the delivery and the high level of service at which they're showing up is absolutely
You just won't
incredible,
stop
and
talking.
It inspires me to be a better leader, to be honest with you.
God.
It's
How would
great
you
to serve on
aspire?
this committee, but
Be
more than
inspired to
anything,
just
it's
quit
great
the
to serve
yapping.
alongside such servant leaders like those men and women in DPW. So thank you. I see you. I feel your warmth and sweetness, and let's keep that up as we move into this very busy season, as Director Herget shared. No days off until August. Gosh. Okay.
Budget season.
Holler if you need some donuts or some coffee.
Oh my God, this
We'll
woman.
Stop by.
So
just
annoying.
Thank you so much. Please.
Even
send
Jared
my
Evans has
kudos
had
to
enough
your
of her.
teams. Thank you all.
What was that? That was
Council-
5 minutes, man.
Council Roberts.
5
Thank
minutes
you, Madam Chair. and
of
thank you,
her
Director
yapping.
Herget. One question / suggestion that I had is I admit you mentioned that I chatted with you about this before. One idea that I had in lieu of the comment that Councilor Bain brought up about the way that you use MAC data and all these other things to quantify where might be the best areas to strip patch. I was wondering if we have a system, whether it's through MAC data or through just general traffic, if we have a way of evaluating which are the really high need thoroughfares for this, street sweeping. In particular, again, in my district, 82nd Street needs a lot more of it than other areas do, right? In other areas of the city, right, they have 38th Street. They're very busy. Might need a lot more of that. I was wondering if we have a system for that. And obviously it's tough to quantify, trash and all these things, but I was wondering if there's a system for that, or if it's more just kind of anecdotal, just going off what we, are guessing.
Yeah. So I think, again, the biggest priority with street sweeping is actually relative to stormwater and trying to make sure that the debris on the roadway doesn't wind up in our waterways, because that's an obligation that we have through the permits that we have with FEMA and the Army Corps and IDEM. And so I think we're always going to prioritize those areas first, and then as we are able to service those areas in a substantial enough way that we can meet that obligation is when we can start looking elsewhere. And so I think you're right to point out that as we have this opportunity, as we grow the fleet and have the ability to do more, we need to be thoughtful about that approach. And I think traffic is probably a good place to start.
What is it
I
with
really
everybody
defer to
just
the
yapping?
department, the operations department, to help make that decision and help drive that decision over time. That's certainly something we'd want to partner with you all as well.
Oh my! That did not have to be such a long-winded answer. Here, let me tell you. Hey, guess what, kid? Child, you 23-year-old dipshit that lives with your grandparents and has no full-time job, clown. If you want things to be swept up from the road, there's a sweeper truck. You can go ahead and drive that. Hey, guess what? When I was running for council last year, you know what I did? I went and cleaned up the streets myself. I had a bunch of garbage bags and a shovel. And there was a tree, an actual tree, starting to grow out from Rockville Road. So you know what I did? I grabbed my Sawzall and I cut it down. That's what real people do. That's what people that give a damn about your community do. That's what real leaders do. They just go and do it. They don't go to the government and said, Listen, I'm just a child, but can we, like, get more streets swept up? I'm pretending to be Nick Roberts, by the way, because he's a dumb kid. That's what real leaders do. They go and do things. Okay? Stop relying on the government and go get your hands dirty.
All right, any last questions, comments? Councilor Boots?
Just a quick one, thank you, Madam Chair. It was mentioned that you own the street sweeping machines. I thought our general trend, I know between IFD, that the trend is toward leasing. Can you explain a little bit the thinking behind owning versus leasing that fleet?
Yeah, so Terry spoke to this, and if I get this wrong, please others feel free to come up and chime in, because as you know, I inherited a lot of this as I stepped in at the beginning of last year.
Poor me.
My understanding is the decision was made by the department to begin leasing equipment in certain instances. In the instance of street sweepers, obviously, as was just discussed, that's one. At the end of that lease, we can then purchase those vehicles at a significant discount because of the abuse of them, right? And so we made the judgment that purchasing those vehicles at the cost that it was being offered to us made sense, so that then we could have that fleet that's a sustainable fleet, and then re-up those dollars into a new lease to expand the size of it. So we're actually in the process of looking at something very similar for our snow plowing fleet. I know it's something that Steve Pruitt and our CFO, Lauren Stevenson, who's out of town this week, but something that Lauren and Steve and I talked a lot about last year in preparation for budget, and frankly, it's something that we had taken to OFM as something we wanted to look to do, but the price tag was just so large with all of the priorities that we had, including safety priorities, DOT software,
DEI training,
making the final cut. So it is a process and sort of an ROI analysis as we make those decisions on capital investment, and what we need to then also on the back end. John and Ronnie are thinking, well, what about fleet, right? Because we need to make sure that we can then maintain those vehicles in the event that we're purchasing. So, Terry, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. The director said, we leased street sweepers in, I'll call waves. So as we roll out of those, now we own those street sweepers. So that's where the ownership comes in. And most of those
What are you guys goofing around?
Oh,
look at this
maintained
kid.
very well up to this
That's
point,
Gibson's
and they
kid
have a lot of
goofing
miles
around.
left on them. So we're going to use that fleet along with releasing additional ones, but that's the trend that we're going with, yeah. And 82nd Street, 86th Street was swept 4 times last year, I know for a fact. So. County line to county line. So, but the 38th Streets, Steve Pruitt and I have been around here for a while. So we, as the events come up, we know where the traffic is and what's going to happen. So all the major roads, the whole roads, the 38th Streets, 86th Streets, everything that goes into a major event, we attack those prior to. So that's on our plan. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions, comments? All right. Any comments from the public on first quarter report? Update.
Look at this
All right.
kid.
I
He's
would like
goofing
to have
around.
2 additional,
Stop bringing your kids to the to the city council meetings.
I know it's late, but they are here. I would like to have them have an introduction.
Thank you, Chairwoman, for welcoming to the council committee. I'm Councilor Jared Evans, and I apologize for being late today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Brian Mowry, District 25, and apologies for my tardiness.
No worries. If that is all, any more new business before this committee, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry? Yeah.
All right, perfect. Another Public Works Committee meeting in the books. I said it before. I said it on the last video too, that there was a 3-minute meeting, administration and finance. I think it was 3 minutes long. I'm not doing it. And if you got to the end of this video, just to let you know, there will be a witty review video coming out tomorrow. Lots to talk about. I think you're really gonna like it. But until next time.